Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, everybody. Just really excited to be here today because I'm really excited about this topic. So I want to talk to you about this thing that I've been doing this last week. I've been reacting. So, I love to do these Facebook Lives because I get to look at what's been going on for me. I mean, those are the topics. What's in my heart, what's in my mind. And this last week has been a huge week of lessons. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, Angel, I'm so glad you all are here. I'm so grateful. And I really want to share with you today that hello, Nathan. Hello, Alyssa. I want to share with you, this week has been a tough week. Reverend Michael says a bad day for the soul is a bad day for the ego is a good day for the soul. So, wow, there's been some ego stuff going on this week, and that's why the topic is Reaction Jackson. Learn how to respond, not react. Hey, everybody, great to see. I'm loving this family that comes back. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm loving our group and our family. Hey, Sandy. Hey, Gail. Hey, Angel. Hey, Rick. This is awesome. I'm so grateful for you guys showing up, man. You make me feel so good. Chantel, Jerry, love you. Tough week for you too. I know, man, but this is the good news. The good news is it's all happening for us. In fact, that's the spiritual principle of this day. The idea is this topic, how to respond, not react, came because I've been so flippin' reactive this week. Man, let me tell you. And I've been reacting to people. Stuff has happened. Let me tell you a situation. Something was going on. Actually, this is an older situation, but an old boss of mine was putting me in a new position, and the outgoing person, they were saying, they didn't do much, and they were talking about the old person, and it made me feel like they were saying that my job, like I thought, well, why are you giving me this job? This was years ago. Why are you giving me this job? Because if you don't think that it's worth, that nothing needs to be done, why are you giving it to me? And I had this whole reactive pattern going on while they were talking. And when I went back and asked them for clarification, they were like, no, man, I was just saying that, the old person wasn't doing that's why we're putting you in. Because the old person wasn't doing the job. I had a totally different interpretation. So that was just one example of how I can become very reactive and misinterpret situations. And here's the deal: responsiveness versus reaction. To respond, if I'm responsive, I'm thoughtful. Responsiveness is thoughtful action. It's considering the long and short-term outcome. And my intention in this talk is to help me, it's helping me, help me understand how I can wake up out of this chain reaction. Because what happens is somebody says something, bam, and I go into this thing right here. Woo, this is deadly. Right up in here, deadly. So I get into this chain reaction and I start, just criticizing and lashing out. There's a Buddhist saying, I think, that says something like, if you get shot with an arrow, do you then shoot yourself with another arrow? No, right? So if I perceive something is coming at me, do I then shoot out another barb because I want to defend myself? That's just hurting myself, really. So the idea is, how do we wake up out of this chain reaction? And I've got some personal experiential tips and things that I've researched, as well as spiritual principles. So let's go to principle first, because there's always a spiritual principle that handles it like that. Spiritual principle is universal truth. It's true all the time, everywhere, always. It's the truth of the universe. And so the spiritual principle here, how do I help myself remember to become less reactive and more responsive, is to remember the spiritual principle that it's all happening for me. Nothing is happening against me. The principle could be stated a number of ways. The universe is a friendly place that is working on my behalf. That's a spiritual principle. It's happening for me, not against me, not happening to me. That's a spiritual principle. These principles, I want you to remember that. The universe is a friendly place that is working on your behalf. I need to remember that. JJ, remember, the universe is a friendly place working on my behalf. So if I'm anchored in that principle, when I think somebody is coming at me, I can pause. And remember that. Now, this is not saying, this is one of the biggest pieces with spiritual bypass is, it doesn't mean that we're a doormat. It doesn't mean that we don't honor our feelings. It doesn't mean that we allow people to walk all over us. Hell no. Because there's something called spiritual authority, right? Where I know who I am, and that doesn't resonate with me, and I'm going to speak with honesty and integrity. But as one of my favorite teachers, Ricky Byers, once said when I was in the choir at Agape, we were at a rehearsal one time, and she starts laying into somebody. They did something, and she laid into him. It was like one of those uncomfortable, like, ooh. Like we all kind of went, ooh, shit. And so she lays into this person. It was uncomfortable. And then she went on with rehearsal. The next rehearsal, she came back. She apologized. She said, look, that was inappropriate of me to speak to you in that way. However, what you were doing wasn't correct. And she said what she learned there was, and this is why she's a beautiful being. I love you, Ricky Byers. You're a beautiful teacher to me. She said, she's what I call a leading learner. She's a leader, and she's always learning. So she said, it's okay to call a thing, but you just got to do it with love, right? So it's okay to say, hey, I don't appreciate how you said that, or that doesn't resonate with me, or whatever it is in the situation. But we do it with love. That's being responsive, not with reactive. And we can do that when we realize that everything is happening for us. So we anchor first in spiritual principle. I'm going to get into some tips and techniques and tools that we can help with our, what's going on physiologically within us while we're reacting. The amygdala is going crazy and all that. That's hyperdrive of the amygdala, and we're reactive, right? So I want to get into that. But first and foremost, I'm a spiritual practitioner trained by Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith, and he teaches me and teaches everyone principle. Go to principle first. What's the principle? The spiritual principle is the universe is a friendly place. Simply said, the universe is for me. It's not against me. It's a friendly place that is constantly working on my behalf. And how do we know that's the truth? Because life is always affirmative. Life is always working on its own behalf. Right? Even at the dead of winter, when the seasons are changing and things appear to be dead, it's gearing up for spring. Life is always moving forward. Life is always expanding. It can't contradict itself. It can't go against itself. That's spiritual principle. So I can know then, without a shadow of a doubt, that life is for me, that the universe is for me. So the first thing here in how to become more responsive and less reactive is to anchor into that truth. And what that truth is a movement in consciousness. We're moving out of victim mentality, right? When I'm a victim mentality, there's something outside of me and it's happening to me. This is again, teaching at Agape, Michael Bernard Beckwith teaching the 4 levels of consciousness. It's happening to me. It's happening by me, right? That's manifestor consciousness. And then it's happening through me. I'm a channel. And then the highest level of consciousness, it's happening as me. I'm one with everything. And there's nothing against me, right? So the first level of consciousness that a lot of us are in, and what I'm in when I'm reactive, is victim consciousness. There's something outside. There's a God outside of me that's vengeful and doing something to me. There's people out there that are trying to get me. And that's when I have to be defensive and defend and position and withhold, all of those things. So principle is the universe is a friendly place that's working on my behalf. The universe is for me. Then I can anchor in when I notice myself in victim consciousness. I can say, I don't have to be a victim here. There's nothing victimizing me. As a matter of fact, I am the cause. I'm moving at cause as a manifester. And then I can even open up more in love and be a channel for that love to express through. And when I can really be open, those moments of ecstatic oneness, I'm one with it all. There's nothing contra to me. So here we are at the principle. The principle is universal principle. The universe is for me. Now, here's some practical invitations to become less reactive and more responsive. The first invitation is to not believe your thoughts. Hello? Don't believe anything that's in here, or believe about 10%. If I could believe 10% of what I think I'd be really good. Because this is amazing. The intellect is amazing, right? But it is a faithful servant. But the heart, the intuitive wisdom of the heart, that is the divine gift. It's divine intelligence. And we've placed, when we listen to our thoughts, we place the servant in charge of the gift. And that is a misuse. That's malpractice, if you will, right? So we want to first really say, probably what I'm thinking might not be 100% right here. I need, my perception might be a little off. Can I accept that first, right? So the first step to becoming less responsive is to acknowledge that our thoughts, our perception of the situation might not be 100% correct. The second tip, tool, technique is to pause and come back to presence. Pause and come back to the present moment. How do I do that? All right, it's simple. And you've heard it before a million times, but there's a reason why we've heard it before a million times. Breathe, come back to the body. Breathe and come back to the body. If I could remember this, one piece, man, so many meetings would be a lot better, and I would have to eat a lot less crow, because that's like when you have to go back and be like, I'm so sorry, I was overreactive there. Let's come back. And whenever I do that, it's always beautiful, because the person always responds and says, I can just feel the whole energy shift. I was in a conversation yesterday with a colleague who's on this spiritual path. He's a beautiful person, and I overreacted. And in that context, in the call of overreacting, we leveled it up, right? It started escalating. And then, thank goodness, we were both aware and we could de-escalate. And it ended up, we both apologized to each other for ways of being that we were both working on. We both acknowledged, hey, this is my growing edge, and man, this is my growing edge. That's why it's the topic today, reaction, Jackson. Do you remember those action figures? There was Action Jackson and G.I. Joe, right? So reaction Jackson, don't be reaction Jackson, baby. Pause and learn how to respond, not react. And how do we do that? Is to breathe and come back to the body. Because the biggest thing is when we're reacting, our amygdala is in hyperdrive, and now I am in protective defensive mode. And my emotions, that's an emotional response. So when I'm reacting, I'm reacting from an emotional level. So the first thing I have to do is breathe and become aware of my emotions. Come back to the body, become aware of my emotions. Where am I? Is it anger? Is it fear? And if it is anger, where am I feeling it? Is it in my heart? Is it in my throat? Sometimes I get caught up in here. Right? Ooh, that was a good face. Caught up in here. Wow, that's something about self-expression. In my heart, it's something about me. The heart chakra opening up gently. Is it in my gut? That's like deep. That's like deep awareness and safety. I don't feel safe. Like, where is it in the body? Where? That's so that, and that helps us come back to the present moment. Because when I'm in reactive mode, I'm off in all these fantasies and reactive chain reactions. It's like a nuclear chain reaction or a domino effect. And pretty soon I'm way down the road, far off of what's really going on. So come back, JJ, remember, come back, breathe. All this stuff I'm not telling you, I'm telling me. And hoping you kind of come on the journey with me. But that's the point. First of all, don't believe your thoughts. Secondly, pause and come back to the present moment. Doing that by breathing, labeling my emotions, becoming aware, and coming back in the body. Can I recognize what's going on here? Can I recognize what the emotion is? And then can I be patient enough? Can I be patient enough to wait and let this settle just a little bit? So, there's a great Buddhist teaching about mud in a bucket, right? So if I have a bucket and it's all muddy, I can't settle the mud by pushing down in the water. It's just going to stir it up. So the more I try to push it down, the more I try to push down my emotions and bear through it, the more I'm going to stir it up. But can I be patient enough to let it settle? When I come back to the body and breathe. And if you're in the moment, if you're arguing with somebody, or in the moment of a conversation with somebody, how do you be patient in that moment? Well, first of all, go back to number one, don't trust your thoughts. A mind is a terrible thing to taste, baby, let me tell you, right? So don't touch your thoughts. So I'm just looking at some of the comments here. Sandy, thank you. Yes, Jill, it's been a week. Reactions have ruined my week. Me too, baby. Let me tell you, sister. So let's see if there's some, oh, wow, lots of great comments. Thank you so much. I'm just checking to see if there is, hey, Justin, Kathleen, Benjamin, hello. Brody, wow, so great to see everybody. Antoine, Jerry, thank you. So just checking to see if this is resonating, and it looks like it is. I'm so grateful. So number 3 is to let it settle, right? Let it settle. Can I recognize here that there's an opportunity for me to breathe and relax, come back to my body, and then let my mind settle? I don't have to react. I can put a pin in it. I could say, you know what, let's come back to that. Let me think about that. That's a great response. Let me think about that. I'll get back to you. Because I know right now, if I said anything, I'm going to be like putting that car in drive and pegging it, baby. So that's the first. There's another practical tip. Don't believe your thoughts. Come back to presence. Number 3, remember love. Oh, that's a good one. How do I remember love when I'm pissed off? That's the question. When do I drop into love? Can I have compassion for myself and others? Because, this guy right here, Howard Thurman, highly recommend Meditations of the Heart. Beautiful, beautiful writing. And he writes a writing called I Want to Be More Loving in My Heart. And he talks about how it's typical and how I'm justified. I'm justified to react and give as good as I get. Right? That's the human condition. Yeah, you said that to me. Let me say that to you. I did that yesterday in my conversation. My colleague said something and I was like, oh yeah? Well, you do this. Wow, that's spiritually mature, JJ. Great. Boy, you're really on it. But here's the point. We're human. We're human and we can't beat ourselves up. That's another thing. I'm coming over here because I noticed this. All right, I'll stop looking at the things and I'll start talking. So how do we come back to love? How do we come back to compassion for ourselves? How do I do that when I want to give as good as I've got? It's natural to do that. So the idea of love, the idea of being love is crystal clear. The thought, like I can set the intention all day. I want to be more loving in my heart. Great. And here's what's going to happen. Because the universe is a responsive place, an energetic medium that responds to our thinking, it's going to show me all the ways and all the opportunities that I have to be more loving. So when I set the intention to be careful, people, when you set the intention to be less reactive, guess what's going to happen? All the opportunities are going to show up in your day for you to be less reactive. And what happens is I react and then I go, I just set the intention to be less reactive and look what happened. I reacted. Well, yeah, but guess what? Good news. Bad day for the ego, good day for the soul. Thank you, Reverend Michael. Right? That's the key. This is our growing edge and we're human and we need to be more gentle with ourselves. It's all right. It's all right. Everybody is going through this learning process. I'll tell you what, you want to hear something really amazing? We had the great opportunity to have Jack Canfield at Rythmia 2 weeks ago. Right, this guy is off the charts, amazing. New York Times best-selling Chicken Soup for the Soul and other great, he's a coach of coaches, a trainer of trainers. He is 30 plus years in this field of growth, spiritual growth and development. He's a leading learner. Oh my God, the things that he was saying, noticing, and he's sharing very openly. So I wouldn't be sharing anything that he wouldn't share, but he's sharing very openly about the ways he thought he was manipulative, the way he was working to get love, and all of these things. Like, wow, Jack Canfield's working through that stuff. I guess it's okay for us too. Michael Beckwith working with that stuff. I guess it's okay for us too. Guess what? We're all on the path. Further along or not, doesn't matter. We're all working at some level with the same basic things at different depths, right? Different peels of the onion, but it's the same thing. Not enoughness, fear, doubt, worry, lack, limitation. Same stuff for everybody. Nothing new under the sun. So these are the things that where it's okay. It's okay for us to be in this place when I get stuck. When I get stuck in anger or reactivity, it's okay. So when you set the intention to be less reactive and all the ways for you to be less reactive show up and you get hooked by one of them, it's all right. Be okay. Now, here's another couple of tips. We're just going to hit through quickly. Don't take it personally. These are 2 great tips from Don Miguel Ruiz, the 4 promises, the 4 agreements. Don't take it personally and don't make assumptions. If I could have those tattooed on the inside of my eyeballs, I would be very grateful. Can you do that, please? I just need to see, don't take it personally all the time, because I'm walking around all the time like, I'm offended. I can't believe that. That's me. That's my natural state, right? That's my natural protective personality state. And that's okay, because guess what? We are trained to be that way from way back. Because if we were an ancestor sitting in a tree and we weren't paying attention and looking for the negative, that saber-toothed tiger would get us, right? We're genetically trained to be scanning for what's wrong. That's our genetic protective personality, and it served us well, but we're not in the jungle running from saber-toothed tigers anymore. So we now have the capacity, because we're self-reflective, we have the capacity to go, I don't have to react. My amygdala doesn't have to be in hyperdrive right now. I can remember not to take it personally and don't make assumptions. How do I not make assumptions? We talked about this a couple weeks ago, perception checking, right? How can I not make assumptions? Check yourself before you wreck yourself, baby. My perception, right? How is my perception? So perception checking is key to de-escalating these situations. So if I'm offended by something that somebody said, if I have the presence to breathe for a moment, don't believe my thoughts, come back to the present moment, remember love for myself and love for the other, then I can maybe ask the question, can I get clarity about what you just said? Did you really mean this? Did you mean that the job you're giving me isn't really a job at all? And then why are you giving it to me? Or did you mean something else, right? Did you mean, that is the key, perception checking, right? Because we're asking for clarification. This is going to de-escalate. And when we ask for clarification, we can breathe and pause and honor our feelings, right? Again, we're not here to spiritually bypass. We don't want to just, the more we shove down those feelings, the more they're going to get caught up. The more we try to shove the mud down in the water, the more it's going to muddy the water. But if I can honor my feelings, if I can pause for a moment and breathe, then the stuff is going to settle and I'm going to get clarity. And I ask for clarity by perception checking. So I can be curious. I can be curious about what the other person says. This slows my thinking, brings the amygdala out of hyperdrive, reactive, protective personality, and I can seek clarity. And when I can seek clarity, then it's easier for me to come back to the body. And the next thing is something to be done on your own. This is some growth work, a growth assignment for you today. If you're willing to accept this assignment, look at your triggers, right? Take a minute and write down your top 5 triggers, the things that trigger. Like for me, when I feel like when I feel like I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, and like somebody's talking down to me, that's a trigger. Because then my own insecurity about my own knowledge is triggered, right? So I know that when I feel talked down to, that's a trigger, then I can make a little bit of a plan to go, all right, there's a trigger. At least now you're preloading. So that you know these situations happen at work. You know these situations, the holidays are coming, right? Thanksgiving's coming up. What a great opportunity to remember the triggers. Whenever my brother talks about Donald Trump, I'm triggered. Whenever I hear his opinion about the impeachment hearings, I'm triggered, right? Whenever my sister says, kindly please, oh my God, that triggers me. I love you, Loretta. But when kindly please do this, right? Or whenever my other sister tells me something about her belief as opposed to my belief, that's a trigger. Has nothing to do with my sisters, has everything to do with me. So can I, before Thanksgiving, can I list 5 triggers that I know that knows that every time my uncle says this, every time my brother says that, every time my father does that, it's a trigger? Then we can plan. Then we can make a plan. We can make a plan on how we're going to react. Oh, when that happens, now you're setting yourself up for success in breathing, remembering, not remembering, because then you go, oh, don't believe my thoughts. Oh, come back to the present moment, breathe. Where is it in my body? Oh, every time my sister says that, it hits me right here. Okay, now it's in the body. Now I'm not focused on my sister, I'm focused on me. And that's the key. Come back to subject. It's never, this is getting out of victim mentality. It's never the object. It's always the subject. Oh, I hate that advice. That's so fucking true. It's never them. It's always me. That's good to know. Don't trust your thoughts. So, and remember love. right? So when I can, so this is what I'm calling, taking a time out, right? Taking adult time out to select my 5 major triggers and then be aware of them. Now I've listed them. Now I'm aware. Oh, that's a trigger. That's going to help me in the future. The next time I have that meeting, the next time I have for Christmas, right? If you work on it for Thanksgiving, watch how great Christmas is. So, or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, right? So let's see here. Anything else that I'm missing? Ooh, here's a good one. Make the other person right. What? Hell no. That's part of the perception checking. How can I make the other person right? If I can, perception checking is repeating back to that person what they said before I comment, before I say, yeah, but here's what's really going on. If I go, okay, so let me get this straight. What you're saying about X, Y, and Z, and you repeat if you repeat what they said back to them until they agree, yes, that's what I said, you'll be making them right. Wow, what a great way to de-escalate the conversation. When somebody feels heard, because like what I said, one of my big triggers is when somebody's talking down to me. Nobody likes to be talked down to. Nobody likes to be talking down to. So, wow, if I could make the other person right, what a shift. What a shift that would be. Wow. Okay, so we're going over. I'm going to go back through everything really quickly before we call it to a close. Well, this has been really cool. I'm loving this. I'm loving this topic because sharing this with you has really helped me to become less reactive, to become more loving in my heart. Because trust and believe, baby, I can be Reaction Jackson. And I don't want to be that action figure for Christmas. I want to be, what do I want to be? Loving in the oven. No, I don't want to. I'll think of something for next week. Come on, somebody send me a comment. Well, instead of Reaction Jackson, we're going to be Love in Motion. I saw that, Jennifer. Love in Motion. I don't know. We're going to be love. That's what we're going to be. We're going to be loving in our hearts. So that, as Howard Thurman says, so that just by being in our presence, we make the path a little easier for those walking with us. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for all of our teachers. Wow, this talk has been relying on so many teachers. So I'm grateful for all of our teachers. I'm so grateful that you all showed up today. Thank you so much. Thank you, Candace. Candace just said, my mom isn't right. What? I love it. All right, y'all. Thank you. Thank you. Purple Prince, welcome from Ghana, my brother. We're international up in here, baby. Let me tell you. Happy day, happy life, happy journey. So grateful for you all. Next week, 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, Pacific Daylight, I don't know, Pacific Time, 11 o'clock. I'll be in Costa Rica next week for LGBTQ week. Much love to you all. Peace and richest blessings. Thank you.